From barefoot to billionaire, how one girl's desperation won over a millionaire CEO at 3 a.m., the clock ticked ominously, each beat echoing in the stillness of the night. Shadows danced under the flickering streetlights, giving life to urban legends. In this world of sparkling lights and hopeful dreams, one girl stood barefoot on the glistening pavement, her heart racing louder than the bustling city around her. How did she get here, you ask? It all started with an odd little flyer that promised a chance like no other. Her name was Lila, and desperation clung to her like a second skin. She was just a girl from a small town, her pockets empty, dreams heavy. As she scanned the streets with fear in her eyes, she couldn't shake the feeling that something magical and terrifying was about to unfold. They said millionaires were unpredictable, but having one's life changed at 3 a.m. seemed like the stuff of fairy tales. She felt a shiver run down her spine, ice-cold and electrifying. Then she spotted him. A sleek black car, like a panther in the night, pulled up with a hush that sliced through the silence. The door swung open, revealing a tall figure cloaked in mystery. His sharp suit screamed power, and his eyes seemed to glow with ambition. Every instinct told her to run, yet she felt an unexplainable pull towards him. Was it fate or foolishness? With a trembling heart, she stepped forward, her bare feet feeling the cool pavement beneath her. As she drew closer, the air thickened. The moment felt surreal, almost scripted. Lila wondered, could this be her chance? Would she dare to seize it? Before the words could leap from her mouth, the man's gaze locked onto hers. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just then, a loud siren sliced through the air, startling them both. His expression changed, something dark flickered behind his sharp gaze. Lila's heart raced, panic surging. Was this chance slipping away? She felt the weight of the city's pulse as she stood on the brink of the unknown. Would she walk away barefoot, as she came? Or would destiny wrap its arms around her, urging her to step into the world of wealth and wonders? The night held its breath, and so did Lila, teetering on the edge of a life-changing choice. The moment hung in the air, charged with electricity. The siren faded, but the tension was palpable. Lila could feel the weight of the decision pressing down on her. Get in, he commanded, his voice smooth yet urgent, slicing through her thoughts like a knife. It was a simple invitation bathed in danger and excitement. Would this be her escape, or a trap woven from the threads of ambition and greed? Lila hesitated, instinct nagging at her. She swallowed hard, and a lump formed in her throat. Was she really ready to leap into the unknown with a stranger? But then she remembered her empty pockets, the dull ache of hunger, and the crushing weight of her town's expectations. Taking a deep breath, she stepped forward. The cool metal of the car door felt foreign and inviting against her fingertips as she climbed inside. The scent of rich leather flooded her senses, a stark contrast to the concrete and grime outside. Lila's heart thundered, the embrace of luxury intoxicating and frightening all at once. As the door clicked shut, the man turned to her, his gaze unwavering. I'm Adrian, he said, his confidence radiating. I can help you change your life. She wanted to laugh, to scoff at the absurdity of it all. But his sincerity held her. Adrian wasn't just a millionaire CEO, he had an intensity that hinted at a deeper purpose, a vision beyond himself. The car glided through the streets like a ghost, the city lights blurring past. Lila's mind raced. What do you want from me? She finally asked, her voice shaking slightly, betraying her bravado. Opportunity, he replied, his eyes narrowing, as if punctuating a promise. You have fire in you, Lila. I need someone like you. A partner. A partner? The word echoed in her head. She was nobody, just a girl who had never ventured beyond borders of her small town. What do I know about being a partner? Lila whispered, half to herself. You just need to stay close, Adrian said, and for a moment, his fiery tone turned softer. Learn. This city is ruthless, but it rewards those who dare to confront it. Lila's heart fluttered. Could she be more than what she was? What did he see in her? So many questions swirled, but the truth was, deep down, she was tired of being invisible. Suddenly, a sharp thud interrupted her thoughts. The car swerved violently, and Lila's breath caught in her throat. The driver's face paled, his knuckles gripping the wheel like he was holding onto a lifeline. What was that? Lila gasped, feeling the rush of adrenaline spike. Adrian's demeanor shifted. The easy charm was gone, his eyes were scanning the road, calculating. Stay down, he snapped, urgency lacing his command. In that moment, the city transformed from a landscape of chance and dreams to one of shadows and menace. Lila was no longer a girl pursuing a new beginning, she was a player caught in a game far more complex than she had ever imagined. What's happening? She shouted, panic rising like bile. He didn't answer. Instead, he reached for something under the seat, and Lila's heart raced as suspicion flickered in the depths of her mind. Just then, the car hit a bump, sending them soaring briefly into the air before crashing back down with a violent thud. Lila gripped the door, bracing for impact, but what awaited her was something else entirely, a twist she had never seen coming. As they sped away, the glow of the city receding behind them, Lila felt an unsettling realization settle in her bones. She was no longer just desperate, she was now entangled in a dangerous web, and there was no turning back. What lurked ahead in the shadows of their escape? The answer hung ominously in the air, waiting to be unveiled. The car jolted again as a bullet ricocheted off the metal frame, and for an instant, everything slowed down. Lila's heart felt like it might explode, pounding in her chest like a war drum. Adrenaline coursed through her veins, pushing her fear to the back of her mind. She instinctively ducked low in her seat, her breaths shallow and rapid. Adrian. She gasped, voice trembling. What is happening? His jaw was set tight, a mask of concentration planted firmly on his face. Hold on, he gritted out, his fingers dancing over the dashboard controls like a pianist in a frantic crescendo. The car sped up, pushing them further into the unknown, thrumming with urgency. Adrian swung the wheel hard, narrowly avoiding another barrage of gunfire that lit up the darkened street in a flurry of chaos. Keep your head down. They're trying to force us off the road. Lila squeezed her eyes shut, feeling the car tip slightly as they curved around another corner. She could hear shouts echoing from outside, a cacophony of sirens and angry voices filled the air, mingling with the frantic rhythm of her heart. Each shout sliced through her resolve. Who are they? She breathed, finally peeling her eyes open to catch a glimpse of the chaotic night beyond the glass. Shadows loomed in the distance, figures appearing as dark silhouettes, their intentions as clear as mud. Adrian shot her a sharp glance, his voice serious. Criminals, people who won't stop until they've got what they want. What do they want? Lila asked, her stomach twisting into knots. You, he replied, his focus shifting back to the road. Or rather, the opportunity one see in you. They'll do anything to negate me and anyone connected to me. Lila's mind raced. Was this really happening? One moment she was aimlessly drifting through her petty life, and the next she was thrust into a world where bullets were flying, and her worth was about more than just her dreams. She was nothing but a pawn in this deadly scheme. Why me? She asked, unable to quell the rising fear in her chest. I'm just a girl. Exactly, he shot back, determination surging through his voice. You're a blank slate. They underestimate you, and people like us can thrive when they don't see what we're capable of. Lila felt a flicker of defiance ignite within her. Was it really true? Could she be more than just a girl running away? But this night was spiraling beyond what she had hoped for. The car veered sharply into an alley, darkness swallowing them momentarily as they escaped the lights and sounds of the chaos behind. Lila's heart raced as Adrian slammed the brakes, bringing them to an abrupt halt. Silence enveloped them, leaving only the pounding of their hearts echoing in the confined space. What now? Lila couldn't help but whisper, the weight of the encounter pressing heavily on her. I need you to trust me, he said urgently, his eyes boring into hers. We can't stay here too long, they'll be searching for us. Just then, Lila's phone buzzed violently in her pocket, startling them both. She fished it out, her pulse quickening as she read the screen. A message, from an unknown number, they know you're with him. Your time is running out. Choose wisely. Lila's breath caught in her throat, realization hitting her like a freight train. She wasn't just caught in Adrian's dangerous game, she was now in a battle for her own survival, and the stakes were higher than she could ever imagine. The words twisted like a knife in her gut. What choices did she truly have? With the weight of that revelation hanging between them, the alley which had promised safety now felt like a grave. What was lurking in the shadows outside? What decisions would seal her fate? Lila's mind reeled as Adrian's gaze hardened, preparing to push ahead into the chaos once again. The clock was ticking, and danger loomed just beyond the darkness. The question was clear: would they escape the abyss, or plunge deeper into the shadows that threatened to consume them both? The dashboard lights flickered ominously as silence descended within the car. Lila felt the weight of Adrian's gaze, steady and intense, slicing through her spiraling thoughts. She knew the urgency of the moment, but the uncertainty gnawed at her gut like a feral beast. What do you mean, choose wisely? She murmured, her hands trembling as she looked down at her phone, the ominous message lingering like a ghost waiting to be acknowledged. Adrian's jaw clenched, and the tension crackled in the small space. We have to decide our next move. We can't let them catch us, but we also can't run blindly. Should we call the police? The thought slipped out before she could censor herself. No. Adrian barked, his voice sharp. They want to protect you, not against these people. They'll just become another target. His intensity made her flinch, but she understood now he was right. She wasn't just a girl anymore, she was embroiled in a dirty game where the rules were lethal. Lila nodded slowly, absorbing the weight of his words. Outside, shadows danced at the periphery, stealing her breath with every muffled sound. Eerie stillness surrounded them, but she knew that wasn't a guarantee they were hidden. Somewhere close, danger lurked. Let us get out of the car, she said, her voice a quiver but firm. We can't stay here. Adrian's eyes widened slightly, then hardened. Are you sure? You saw what they did back there. He glanced toward the alley entrance. Danger wasn't just an abstract concept, it was real and crawling with intent. Yes, she insisted, feeling the flicker of courage within her again. We can't let them track us too easily. If they come looking for us here, we'll be sitting ducks. After a brief, lingering moment, Adrian nodded his agreement. He tossed a worried glance outside, assessing the danger before stepping out cautiously. Lila followed, her heart pounding as she moved into the enveloping darkness. The cool night air bit at her skin, contrasting sharply with the heat of adrenaline rushing through her veins. Adrian motioned her to stay low as they crept along the brick wall of the alley, hearts racing with every shuffle of their feet. We need a plan, he murmured, glancing back to where they'd left the car. If we can reach the train station down the block, we might have a chance to disappear, at least for a little while. Okay, Lila replied, her throat dry. But how do we move without being seen? He paused, his brow furrowing as he searched for a strategy. We wait for the right moment. Followers often pay attention to patterns. If we can blend into the night when they aren't looking, we stand a better shot. Time seemed to crawl as they crouched behind a dumpster, darkness wrapping around them. A light flickered at the entrance of the alley, and Lila's breath stilled. Shadows danced closer, growing darker against the concrete canvas of the alley's mouth. "You see them?" Adrian whispered, his voice a tense murmur. Lila nodded slightly, her heart racing as two figures appeared, their voices sharp with anger. It was clear they were searching for them. She felt a chill creep up her spine, the reality of their situation growing heavier by the second. "Get ready," Adrian urged, muscles coiling like a spring ready to snap. "On my mark, we dash. I'll take the lead." Every nerve in her body screamed as if they sensed the danger closing in. The figures moved closer, shadows stretching, the night air thickening with consequences. Fear clutched at her chest, but it was matched by a fierce glimmer of defiance. Then there was a moment where everything seemed to pause. It was just the two of them against all of it, the enemy, the unknown, even themselves. Each shadow was a test of their resolve. "Now!" Adrian's voice pierced the tension, and they bolted, hearts pounding in unison. As the alley opened before them, a siren wailed in the distance, cutting through the night air. They raced toward the promise of escape, but what awaited them at the station? What danger lay in the shadows behind them? The hunt was on, and with it, Lila felt the tightening grip of destiny. Was this her new reality, or just the beginning of a deeper entanglement? Lila's feet thundered against the pavement as she and Adrian sprinted toward the distant glow of the train station. Each step felt like a desperate act of defiance against the chaos nipping at their heels. Panic clawed at her throat, urging her to turn back, to find safety in the known. But the shadows behind them were far too close. Adrian glanced back, his expression a mix of fear and determination. "Keep moving," he barked, dragging her forward. "Don't look back, just focus on the station." As they approached, the flickering lights illuminated the entrance, revealing a handful of late-night travelers and scattered benches. Lila's heart raced not just from the run, but from the faint glimmers of hope she dared to cling to. Maybe they could hide here, disappear into the crowd, but just as they reached the platform, the chilling laughter of their pursuers echoed in the distance. The world around her faded, drowning in a swell of dread. She grabbed Adrian's arm, whispering, "What do we do?" "We find a train, any train, and we get out of here." His eyes searched the platform desperately. "There, look." He pointed toward the indicated train, its headlights pushing through the darkness like a beacon of salvation. They rushed toward the doors as they opened, a surge of weary commuters spilling out like water from a broken dam. Adrian pushed Lila in first, and she stumbled, her hands grasping the chilly metal railing to steady herself. The doors slid shut behind them with a sharp hiss. "Next stop, anywhere but here," Adrian breathed, scanning the empty seats. The echo of heavy footsteps resonated through the train as it pulled away from the platform. But Lila could still hear that laughter, now mocking and intertwined with their escape. Could they truly hide on this moving cage? She sank into a seat, her breath hitching. Why are they doing this? What do they want? Adrian's face darkened. It's not us they want. It's something we stumbled into. Something we should have never gotten involved with. What do you mean? She felt the weight of his secret pressing down on her. This night had already turned her life upside down. It's about the company, my father's company. Everything we've seen tonight, the violence, the anger, it's connected. They think we know something, or maybe they're just after revenge. Lila's mind raced. But you didn't do anything wrong. Doesn't matter, he replied tightly. I'm connected to it, and now you are too. A sudden jolt of the train rattled her back to reality. So what now? How do we fix this? We can't fix it easily. We need to find allies, people who can help us navigate through this mess. I need to get in touch with them. He hesitated, running a hand through his hair. But if they track us, her heart dropped at the thought of being cornered again. What if we contact someone in the police force we can trust? Adrian shook his head. If we go for the cops, that'll put us right back on their radar. We need to find a way to dig deeper. As adrenaline coursed in her veins, the train's lights flickered, sending a flash of uncertainty through the carriage. Suddenly, the train lurched to a stop. An overhead announcement crackled to life, recently muffled by the din of their fears. Due to unforeseen circumstances, this train service has been suspended. All passengers must disembark immediately. Panic sliced through Lila like a blade. Adrian's grip tightened on her arm as he whispered, "We have to get out of here now." The doors slid open with an ominous hiss, revealing the dark, unwelcoming platform outside. The station was deserted, the shadows now pooling around them like thick ink. "Where do we go?" she asked, her heart pounding in tandem with the urgency radiating from Adrian's tense expression. The grips of fate were closing in on them, tightening. "Follow me," he whispered, as he stepped into the unknown. They hadn't even made it back to safety, when the true danger of the night loomed ahead. Their pursuers' laughter echoed once more, and the darkness pulsed with threats unseen. What awaited them on the other side? Would they find safety, or would they plunge deeper into the sinister depths of Adrian's past? The questions loomed like storm clouds over their heads, ready to unleash chaos. Adrian led Lila through the shadows, her heartbeat echoing in her ears as they moved past the empty ticket kiosks. The fluorescent lights flickered, creating a strobe effect that deepened the unsettling silence of the station. Every creak of the old building felt like a warning. "It's this way," Adrian said, urgency coloring his voice. He grabbed her hand, his warmth a stark contrast to the frigid air swirling around them. They zigzagged between abandoned benches and faded posters, dodging unseen threats. She wanted to ask questions, but the lump in her throat kept her silent. Once on the other side of the platform, they turned down a narrow corridor. The vibrations of the train wheels faded, replaced by the distant rumble of the underground. "We need to find an exit," he murmured, scanning the dimly lit passage. "Adrian." Lila gasped. Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Shadows danced at the far end. "Do you see that?" "Yes, I do," he said, his voice barely a whisper. All at once, the laughter that haunted them broke into her mind again, as if a sinister choir had rejoined their pursuit. She felt the cold creeping up her spine. "What do we do?" "Stay close," he said, pulling her forward as they hurried to the exit signs glowing faintly ahead. Fear drove them, but so did adrenaline, lending their feet wings. Lila tried to focus on the streaks of light guiding them, but a sound cut through the air, like grating metal on metal. She froze. "Just keep going," Adrian urged, but she hesitated. Beneath the shrieks of their pursuers' laughter, a deeper, more menacing sound echoed, a low growl, almost animalistic. Suddenly, light flooded the corridor as they approached the exit, and panic surged. The shadows behind them shifted, closing in like predators on their prey. "Now!" Adrian shouted, and they burst through the doors, gasping for breath as they stumbled into an alleyway. The chill of the night hit them like a punch. They stood panting, their eyes darting back to the station doors, wondering if the laughter had followed them. "What now?" Lila pressed, trying to catch her breath. "If they catch up to us," he glanced around, the fear returning to his eyes. "We need to get to somewhere safe." She was still catching her breath from their sprint, her heart slamming against her ribs. "I saw a coffee shop around the corner. We should hide in there." "Are you sure it's safe?" He seemed uncertain, but the panic in her gaze pushed him to agree. "Better than staying out here," Lila insisted, urgency coloring her words. With a quick nod, they darted down a side street. As they rounded the corner, her heart threatened to stop altogether. The coffee shop was open, but the very air outside felt charged with danger. A flicker of light caught her eye further down the street. Shadows moved, but not from their pursuers. They were too close. Adrian flattened his back against the wall, peering around the corner. We can't go in there. They'll check. We need to find somewhere else. Then where? She hissed, panic seeping through her skin as the laughter echoed too close for comfort. The shadows grew denser as a figure stepped into view, its outline barely visible in the dim streetlight. Lila froze. Adrian, someone's coming. Quick, into that doorway. He urged, pulling her into a cramped alcove just in time. They pressed against the cool brick wall, heartbeats racing, breaths shallow. The figure drew closer, and she could see its features, a man with a hood pulled over his face, scanning the area. Every second stretched into eternity as they held their breaths, fear hanging between them. What did this man want? Were they really safe? Lila's mind spiraled with uncertainty. If she whispered something, would he hear? Would he come looking for them next? Don't make a sound, Adrian breathed, his breath hot against her ear, as they both watched in terror. The man stood silently, a predator in the night. Would he find them? Or would he simply move on, letting them slip deeper into the shadows? The closer he moved, the closer danger loomed. They were still in danger even in hiding. Then, just as the man turned his back, another sound interrupted the air. A loud crash echoed behind them. What had just happened? Was it their pursuers? Something had changed, and they teetered on the brink of revelation and terror. Lila, we need to go, Adrian whispered urgently, but where could they possibly run now? The crash sent a tremor through Lila's body. She dared to peek around the edge of their alcove, heart hammering in her chest. The hooded figure was still there, but now his attention was torn. He stepped back, eyeing the noise that had come from the street just behind them. What was that? Adrian whispered, his voice tight with anxiety. I don't know, Lila replied, her throat dry, but we can't stay here. Let us move. Adrian's voice was firm now, carrying a blend of determination and dread. He didn't wait for her response, sliding silently out of their hiding spot and into the street. Lila followed, adrenaline propelling her forward. The sharp chill of the night wrapped around them, but the urgency of their situation drove out the cold. The city felt alive, the shadows breathing like monsters. Lila scanned the area, desperate for a safe haven. A muffled shout echoed in the distance. Her breath caught. They weren't alone. Adrian pointed across the street. That warehouse, quick. They darted toward the massive, weathered door barely illuminated by a flickering light. Lila hesitated for a fleeting moment as they approached, an instinctual warning tingling in her gut. Something felt off. But before she could voice her concern, Adrian knocked. The sound was muffled, like a plea for mercy that hung in the air. Please let it be empty. She muttered under her breath, as the door creaked open. Just a sliver. A shadowy figure emerged, silhouetted in the weak light. Lila squinted, barely able to make out features. The figure stepped forward, revealing a gaunt man, his eyes sunken deep and wild. What do you want? He rasped, feet shifting nervously. Please, we're being followed. Adrian's urgency was palpable. We need to hide. The man's gaze darted back toward the street, then to Lila. Fine, he said finally, stepping aside. But you have to keep quiet. I don't want them finding you here. They slipped inside, Lila's heart racing not just from the chase but also from the tension this stranger radiated. The warehouse was dark, a maze of crates loomed around them. She could feel the man's eyes on her as they passed, a prickling sensation that didn't let up. Stay here, Adrian instructed softly, leaving her side to scout further in. The man hovered near the door, his body tense as though anticipating footsteps. Who were you running from? He asked Lila, voice low. Just some people. They were chasing us, she admitted, feeling stupid for having exposed their vulnerability. The man nodded, a knowing look flickering in his eyes. They always come for those who think they can escape. You don't know the dangers lurking in the dark places, do you? Before she could ponder what he meant, a distant clamor jolted her ears, the sound of footsteps, fast and heavy, closing in. Adrian! Lila called, voice breaking. The door creaked open behind her, and she glanced back just as a flash of light illuminated the alley. We need to move. Adrian shouted, rejoining her, urgency coursing through every word. What about him? Lila pointed at the man, who seemed to be bracing himself. The less attention we call, the better. Adrian snapped, pulling her deeper into the warehouse. Just then, the door swung open wider, and a group of figures spilled into the space, laughter cutting through the tense atmosphere. Lila's heart plummeted. Those were their pursuers. Go left. Adrian yanked her arm, pulling her behind a wall of crates, breaths hitching in their throats. Silence fell momentarily as they pressed against the cold wood. The sounds of chaos grew, voices mingling with the tracking footsteps. They saw us. Lila whispered, eyes wide with fear. They'll find us. Shoo. Just follow my lead, Adrian instructed, his voice steady yet low. As the laughter grew closer, Lila's mind raced. What if they were caught? What if now, after everything, they ended up trapped? Just before their pursuers could reach their hiding spot, she caught a glimpse of something glinting on the floor near the door. A weapon? She needed to tell Adrian. But it was too loud, too chaotic. Would he even hear her? Lila, he whispered urgently, as if sensing her turmoil. We need to move. Now. They exchanged a look, an unspoken agreement binding them. They would escape together or not at all. With a shaky breath, she nodded. The warehouse didn't feel safe anymore, and there was only one way out. But the barrier they faced was thicker than just walls and shadows. As they prepared to dash for the door, gripping each other's hands tightly, one question hung in the air: could they outrun whatever darkness was chasing them, or were they about to cheat fate for the last time? The group of figures moved closer, their laughter twisting into predatory snarls. Lila's breath hitched as she strained to hear their words, her heart pounding like a war drum. Adrian's grip tightened around her hand, an understanding passing between them that this wasn't just a chase, it was life or death. Where did they go? One voice echoed, sharp and demanding. Search the warehouse. They can't have gotten far. Another shouted, fueling Lila's fear. Time felt suspended, each moment dragging like an eternity. Adrian's eyes darted around the crates, seeking an escape route, but each shadow seemed to conspire against them. Lila could barely think, her mind racing as adrenaline coursed through her veins. Adrian began, and in that fleeting second, she could see it, uncertainty reflected on his face. Over there. A shout rang out, piercing through the tension like a knife. Before she could fully process it, Adrian yanked her along, a surge of instinct pushing them to the left. They slinked behind a towering stack of crates, pressing their backs against the cold wood. Lila held her breath, each inch of her body pulsing with fear and anticipation. The figures were getting closer. She could hear their voices now, harsh and angry, echoing through the hollow space. Check every corner. They can't escape. Adrian's fingers brushed Lila's cheek, as if subconsciously reassuring her. We need to move, past them, he whispered, eyes focused on their pursuers. But she started, the words choking in her throat. No buts, Lila. Trust me, he replied, if only to calm her fraying nerves. In a moment fueled by desperation, they watched as one of the figures approached their hiding spot. Lila's heart dropped. The looming threat was right there, inches away, oblivious to the two of them sprawled behind crates, hearts racing in tandem. The figure paused, scanning the area. They have to be around here. Adrian slowly began to inch away from the crates, signaling for Lila to follow. She squeezed his hand, the surge of adrenaline pushing them forward. Every step was taut with danger, every sound exponentially amplified. As they made their move, Lila caught sight of the glint again, the metal object lying just out of reach. With almost instinctive reflex, she hesitated. Adrian. The weapon. What? He hissed. Back there. She pointed urgently, but his eyes were fixed ahead, the risk of being caught outweighing the potential for a weapon. Lila, this way. We can't waste time. The pressing chaos drove her instincts wild. She felt torn between safety and her unyielding need for security. Next to her, Adrian's breath was swift, face taut with concentration. Still, something deeper pulled Lila toward the glimmering object. In a heartbeat of calculating risk, she broke from Adrian, darting back toward the glint. As she reached it, her fingers grazed the cold metal, a knife, its blade sharp and ready. But no sooner had she grabbed it than the warehouse door creaked ominously. A figure stepped through with a casual confidence that sent a chill down her spine. It was one of their pursuers. Adrian turned back, panic igniting in his eyes as he saw her stand frozen with the knife clutched in her hand. Lila! He shouted, the urgency slicing through the chaos. We need to go. Now! The laughter grew louder, ominous and mocking. They were closing in. Adrian's shout jolted her back to action. Come on! They fled together, but not before the figure at the door caught sight of them, eyes narrowing, and a shout erupted. They're here! Fear coursed through Lila like a raging river as they sprinted toward the crack of light at the door. Adrian's urgency drove her forward, but the shadows clawed at their heels, threatening to drag them back, to snatch them into the depths of night. Behind us! Adrian cried, yanking Lila aside just as a heavy thud met the ground where they had been. Heart racing, they charged for the exit, the howl of laughter ringing in their ears, but the door wasn't just an exit, it was a perilous threshold into the unknown, and once crossed, there might be no turning back. Would they escape, or was this the moment their luck finally ran dry? With a burst of speed, they leaped into the night, but darkness awaited them with open arms. The air outside was electric, thick with night sounds that vibrated in Lila's ears, distant sirens, the rustle of leaves, and the heavy thud of their hearts. They stumbled into the darkened alley, the warehouse looming ominously behind them, its cold shadow urging them forward. Where do we go? Lila gasped, glancing back. The laughter echoing from the warehouse stung her ears, a mocking reminder of the danger still lurking just beyond their escape. Keep moving. Adrian urged, pulling her further into the alley. His grip was firm, yet Lila felt the tremor in his hands, the unspoken fear they both shared. They stumbled through the darkness, every footfall heavy with urgency. Lila's heart raced not just from fleeing but from the weight of what they had escaped and what might follow. The knife felt cold and strange in her hand, a small comfort against the chaos that had launched them from safety into this nightmare. Suddenly, the alley twisted, leading them into a narrow street that seemed to stretch infinitely. We need to find a way to hide. Somewhere they want to think to look. Adrian's brow furrowed as they hurried down the street. The dim glow of streetlights danced around them, casting fleeting shadows that made every turn feel like a potential trap. Over there. Lila pointed at a row of parked cars, the shadows and dark spaces seeming to beckon them. They ducked behind one, pressing their backs against the cool metal. Lila's breath quickened as the reality of their situation sank in. Adrian, what do we do? She finally breathed, panic rising in her throat, creating a lump that made it hard to swallow. Wait, he closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them wide with intent. We have to think, figure this out. We can't just run blindly. Before Lila could respond, a shout echoed down the street, chilling her blood. It was unmistakable, one of their pursuers was close, the laugh unmistakable and taunting. They went this way. I swear it. Adrian swore under his breath, his calm facade slipping as anxiety crept in. They'll never give up until they find us, he said tightly. Lila gripped the knife, feeling its weight, both a burden and a comfort. Adrian, her voice trembled, what if they catch us? What will happen then? He turned to her fiercely, a fire igniting in his gaze. We fight. We're not going down without a chance. Just as the words left his mouth, shadows flickered in the dim streetlight. Lila instinctively stifled a gasp as she recognized a figure approaching from the far end, the low light catching the glint of something metallic in their hand. Stay quiet, Adrian whispered, his breath barely breaking the silence. The figure moved closer, each step deliberate, ears trained for any sound. Lila's stomach churned, she could hardly breathe. What if it's not just one? She whispered back, glancing around for other threats. Adrian's jaw clenched. We'll have to make a break for it. No matter what happens, we stick together. The figure paused, scanning the area around the cars, their eyes narrowing as if sensing they were being watched. Lila held her breath, willing the figure to move on. But they stood frozen, almost as if tasting the air, savoring the thrill of the hunt. Go! Adrian suddenly hissed, glancing back at her. They burst from their hiding spot, sprinting down the street, every muscle in Lila's body screaming in protest. Behind them, laughter erupted, sharper and more menacing. There they are. Get them. Adrian pushed Lila to run faster. A sudden roar of an engine filled the night as a car sped toward them, headlights piercing the darkness like an impending doom. Adrian! Lila screamed, the vehicle barreling closer. It was a race against time, escape or be caught again. But just as they reached the edge of the street where the shadows met the light, something caught Lila's eye, a door ajar, beckoning them into the unknown. Inside! She shouted, jerking her head toward the opening. Lila, no! He protested, but the sound of pursuing footsteps swallowed his words. Without waiting, she dashed for the door, adrenaline fueling her feet. Determination flooding her veins. They couldn't stop now. Not when freedom was within reach. Would this door lead to safety or deeper into danger they couldn't escape? Lila pushed through, but as Adrian followed, a figure emerged from the shadows, blocking their exit with a sinister smile. The figure loomed over them, silhouetted against the dim light spilling from the door. It was none other than the man from the warehouse, the one who let them in, looking even more menacing than before. Thought you could escape that easily? He taunted, eyes glinting with malice. Get back! Adrian barked, stepping protectively in front of Lila. The knife she clutched felt heavier now, a reminder of the danger that swirled around them. The man's laughter echoed, slapdash and chilling, sending shivers racing down Lila's spine. Turn back now, the man sneered, stretching his arms wide like he was welcoming them to a party they clearly didn't want to attend. No one's leaving without paying the price. Adrian glanced at Lila, determination flickering in his eyes. We have to fight, he whispered, jaw set. But Lila felt the weight of the moment crushing down on her. A battle against this man wouldn't just put them in danger, it was a gamble that could cost them everything, but what choice did they have? Before she could voice her thoughts, the man lunged forward. Adrian was faster, tackling the man to the ground, and the two hit the concrete in a cloud of chaos. The knife was clutched tightly in Lila's hand. She could do something, she could help, but what if she miscalculated? Panic clawed at her throat. Nevertheless, she edged closer, adrenaline firing through her limbs. Adrian grappled with the man, their struggle playing out like a scene from a thrilling movie. Lila's heart raced. She had to do something. Lila. Help! Adrian shouted as he wrestled, his frustration bubbling over. That was all it took for her to sprint forward, thrusting the knife toward the man atop Adrian. Time slowed as she lunged, the blade glinting against the light. The man's eyes widened in surprise. Stop! He bellowed, just as Lila swung hard. The knife caught his shoulder, sending him sprawling to the side, a guttural cry escaping his lips. A flood of relief washed over Lila as Adrian pushed the man off him and scrambled to his feet. Let us go. Adrian growled, grabbing her hand and pulling her into the alley once more. They raced down the street, echoing laughter fading behind them, replaced by the ominous uncertainty of their next move. Where do we even go now? Lila panted, heart thrumming wildly in her chest. We'll find another place to hide, Adrian replied, determination lacing his voice despite the panic circling just beneath the surface. We need to regroup and think. Suddenly, the sharp sound of a honking horn cut through the air, startling them both. An unmistakable vehicle sped towards them, lights flashing like beacons through the darkness. It was Adrian's car, pushed into the fate of the night, waiting as if to tell them it was time to leave everything behind. As they darted toward the car, Lila felt the gravity of their situation pressing down. What about the company? What about those people? She had to know. Adrian had risked so much, and they had stumbled into chaos neither of them had been prepared for. Adrian hesitated, but the urgency of the moment ignited a spark of truth in his eyes. I'll explain everything later. Right now, focus on getting out. He fished the keys from his pocket, keeping an eye on the shadows that loomed at the edges of their escape. With the car door flung open, they both dove inside. Heart thundering, Lila leaned forward, breathless. They had just bought themselves a fleeting moment of safety. Adrian started the engine, his fingers trembling as he turned the wheel. Hold on. As they sped down the road, the city blurred into a streak of lights and shadows, the promise of a new beginning whispering in the wind. For the first time since this nightmare had begun, Lila felt hope flickering within her, but something haunted her still. The message on her phone echoed in her mind, the warning that had changed everything. Would escape mean true freedom, or was this just the beginning of an even darker path? Adrian? Lila ventured, her voice soft but firm. What if they come after us again? What if we're not really safe? He met her gaze. Strength blended with vulnerability. Then we fight back. Together. As they drove away, the city behind them faded into a blur. The chaos might have intertwined their lives, but in that fleeting moment of silence, Lila realized something profound. She wasn't just running away anymore, she was running toward the life she now dared to claim. The night was dark, but for the first time, Lila felt a fire igniting deep within her, a flame of courage and resilience. Together, they would face whatever awaited them. It was only the beginning, but destiny had finally chosen them. With plastered smiles and hearts racing with adrenaline, they sped into the unknown, no longer barefoot but stepping firmly toward their future. And here's the moment to act. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this astonishing ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see the thrilling conclusion. Your support means the world, and only true fans understand the importance of taking action.